So, yeah. Subdivision, but they take off. Yeah, and it would have it goes like, and I'm always there, we go to bonfires and drink and, you know. So that, I'm always invited, so I get to sit and drink and stuff. We get to drink and have fun and.
You're not invited, you're coming anyway.
Exactly. But they're so fun. They really love it. 10 and 6 this year.
Like Dennis, it's a little more quieter now. Not like that, I'm sorry.
I was like, what?
Zoom,
Oh,
the ability to again.
it's a Zoom again now?
Well, he
Oh.
provided it.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I'll cover all of that. So with that said, good morning. Good morning, good morning, good
What are you
morning.
guys talking about today?
A little bit of everything.
Problems.
Problems, yes, a lot of problems, so. What we have now is everybody wanted to kind of do an immersed situation for some that can't make it, so obviously we're going back to a little bit of a Zoom. Everybody see, we're trying to figure out lighting to really upgrade this room for that. So have your eyes adjusted. It's a little more comfortable once you get in here for a while. It actually is a lot better than a bright light. So that's kind of where we're at with everything. So, what I will point out is there's gonna be people joining in that are online, I guess, that Alex will
Yep, we
welcome
got
in.
several people online. We got Jane, Brooke,
Hi, Jane. Hi, Brooke.
Clements.
This is different, so. Normally it's me doing a Zoom in front of a desk. No, it gets the whole room, so that's why another thing is with that. So it gets a lot of background noise too, so. Chatter amongst, because we were noticing that yesterday with book club, when someone's speaking, if someone else is speaking. You know, they don't
Mean to be.
mean to be, or you don't think they are, you can pick it up, so. If you
So
wanna
just, you know,
say bad things.
a little bit,
Hear it.
yeah.
I can hear it. You heard everything yesterday.
Comes into play.
Yeah. What's that? Well, we didn't Zoom it yesterday, we did a test.
We
run
recorded
using the
it.
book club class,
It's a great class.
just to see how it all,
You should have zoomed it because I think
Yeah.
it was a great class.
well, we have it recorded.
Yeah, we have it recorded.
So, no, it was a great thing. So I'll start off with that, book club. Book club went in a whole different direction. If anybody wants to join, they're more than welcome to. This week is 3 weeks in a row. Michelle's doing her 80th book, so. But Steal Like an Artist, it's exactly that. It's written from an artist's perspective, but it really does relate to A, your life, how you evolve, B, your business. What are you doing daily to grow your business? And that it isn't all original thoughts. That's what most people need to realize. There's nothing original in real estate. Your thoughts and every idea that you created is realistically come from somebody else. Unless it's technology. That's the only original creation in real estate that there is. So if anybody wants to join, we meet next week. And then the third week is following right after. So
And you guys, it's an easy read.
it is, it's a super easy read. You don't have to worry about being bogged down. There's people that can read it 20 minutes before the actual meeting. It's that short and sweet. And Alex and I have learned something going over 10 book clubs.
Yeah.
We've read probably just at least 10 books in 10 different sessions. So it's short, sweet, to the point. Hopefully gets you a little bit lifted up, gives you a few ideas and helps you grow. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely.
So yes, we had a full room for book club, that is. So that's that. Updates, market stats year over year. Nothing different than last month. If you guys were sitting in the last month session, your numbers are realistically the same. The thing that's crazy is going back. I went to cycle all the way back to 2008, 7, 6. We're doing less numbers unit wise, as well as many agents are doing the last 6, 7.
Sorry.
Yeah, I know. I just read what that email came from last night. Anyway, staying on track. So volume's there. Volume's what's saving everybody. You say, well, what does that mean? Well, most people's units are down. Overall industry units are down, but incomes aren't down because guess what's making up for it? Volume is up, so it's a good thing. So we'd like to see the units get up, but it is what it is. So market. Last month's stats aren't even available yet, but it's all trending the same way. So with that said, lending wise, I'll bring you into the focal point. I'll put you right here, Mr. Kelly. So I heard that there's issues with, so that's more on a commercial side with the shutdown and furlough. So I guess my first question that I had is about the furloughs with people that are employed through the government. Do you have anyone such as that? And how does that affect their loan if they're being furloughed?
So I have not had to deal with one personally. But there are issues with the furlough with there being no end in sight, right? So.
So does that make sense? Does everybody understand what I'm saying? If you have government employees working right now that aren't making income, and I heard that it's back and forth, will they receive back pay? Probably not. So that may affect the buyers, correct?
Yeah, so some buyers are getting their last paycheck that they will get on the 15th. So, and that's only gonna cover, for most government employees, 1 week, right? Because of when it started and when the pay periods for government employee in, so most people are gonna start getting their last check on the 15th.
Okay, so
And what my advisor's saying is he's worried this thing drags on till November. He says until people start feeling the pain of it all, there's no incentive for it to end quickly. And with people still receiving paychecks or partials up through the 15th, he thinks it may be November before they really start feeling enough pain where people are start motivated to figure it out.
and complain. So that's one aspect. If you have anybody that's currently employed by the government to be aware of. I sent out a lot of information for you, those that are watching. It's obviously in the Facebook office group, which I will always stress. You should be receiving really no emails from me. You're probably thrilled because you're getting sick of it. Jess is my disbursement of data and information because I know you'll maybe open hers. But if you want to know anything that's ever going on or need to know what's going on in the market or what's going on in this office, you got to go to the Facebook office group. I don't care if you don't want to be on social media, great. I think you're making a big mistake by not marketing it. We talked about that in book club, but have a profile just so you can go in and see what's going on. So there was a long list. Brett made comments on some of that in there to give you that kind of update. And then anything to do with any government loans, floodplain. So the only one I have as an issue right now is SBA. An agent in here has a commercial deal going. That is affected because that's more of a government entity that's controlling that. So that's going to slow that closing down. So if you have anybody that's dealing in commercial, be aware of that, but I'll let you kind of talk if there's anything else that.
Yeah, so for government loans, FHA, VA are largely unaffected because they don't actually do the final approval. USDA actually does the final approval. So a USDA loan, my underwriting team approves the loan, but USDA has to then approve our approval. VA, we just approve the loan and to their standards, and they trust us to do so. Same thing with FHA. There are a few things with FHA that are being affected. So I'm doing an ROV or reconsideration of value on a VA right now. Those usually take 48 hours. I can't get a clear answer enough. They're even reviewing those right now. The fact that it's 7 days later, I haven't got it back. I'm thinking they're not. So some functions that does require the VA to actually step in and help, like, override an appraisal, seems to be affected, but mostly USDA is the problems.
Okay. Floodplain, we don't get into much of that anyway, so we don't have to really worry about that with flood insurance. Hopefully you don't have any of those problems.
Yeah.
Gosh, I don't even remember the last thing we ever had with flood insurance requirements of things along those lines. So, okay.
Bond market's doing well.
Good.
Few days in a row continuing to move down. There's a few technical points that if we meet, I think we can be getting close to 6 for conventional pretty quick, which would mean mid-5s for government. I mean, we're in the 5s with VA, USDA, and FHA right now.
What about refis?
I'm seeing a ton of activity. I'm having a lot of people, so I had a lot of people say I'll wait till the rates get lower. And they did spike pretty hard when the Fed announced they were going to drop rates, and they did drop rates. We actually had mortgage rates go up by about three quarters of a point, probably. Or no, sorry, 3/8 of a point. And then I had clients calling me saying, "Hey, the Fed dropped rates. I think I'm ready to refi now." I'm like, "Well, I told you that 2 weeks ago, and you said you wanted to wait. Now it doesn't make sense, right?" So it's a good thing for kind of incentivizing people or reminding them, like, "Hey, just because if I call you and tell you I can get you 6 today, it's today, right? That doesn't mean we're getting any lower tomorrow, or it's not going to be higher the next day." So, I do think we're gonna see it go down, and then we're gonna see it peak, and we're not gonna move straight down. So there's gonna be some blips, and I think every time the Fed does drop rates, we're gonna see it kind of bounce back up for a week or two, and then it's gonna come back down lower. So we're gonna see a little higher, but I don't think we're gonna go up from where we're at today.
So if you've had people that have bought in the last, gosh, how many years? 3, 4, 5? Should maybe be staying in tune if that's something they're really looking to do is refi. An agent said, well, that's not really my job. I can't think it is because you're the one-stop shop and the resource for their real estate needs. So it's something you should be putting out to your database, especially people that have bought, because I think probably a lot of agents in the industry said, what do you do? Date the rate, marry the house. Is that how it went?
Mhm.
Yeah,
Well, I love how everybody said that, but I don't hear anybody talk about now changing and working on your rate. Is that interesting? Agents want to just put that out there, but then on the other side, love them and leave them. Closed you, bye-bye, no follow-up. So I think it would be great if you guys are kind of putting that information out there to your constituents, because one, no one else is putting it out there. And I would actually use that as a marketing point. Remember when everybody was telling you to date the rate, marry the house? Well, you married the house. Anybody ever come back and help you with the rate? I'm just advising you, and call my resource. Here's a name and number, or I'll put you together. Or Brett would love to talk to him, I'm sure. So I think that would be good information to be putting out there to your
Yeah.
consumers, clients.
And for clients that do close with me, we do have a brand new system that we just launched that basically loads my entire past pipeline. So any of your clients who use me are going to be automatically loaded in there. It's really neat because it does a lot of things that just looking at the rate doesn't do. So a lot of people don't think about PMI as a huge part of the refinance puzzle. Like Stephanie and I had a client closed in June. We literally were talking about it out here. They're FHA, so they sold their house. Recasting doesn't make sense, or you can't recast an FHA, but it doesn't get rid of the PMI. So by looking at, we had to close them FHA to make it work, but as soon as rates get a little bit lower, we're going to refi it into conventional, which is going to get rid of $180 a month in PMI and drop their rate 1%. So, I mean, we're talking $500-600 a month in savings by switching them loan programs and getting rid of the PMI. But the other huge thing is appreciation, right? So if you had someone close a year and a half ago who had PMI, but they put 10% down, I mean, if they've gotten 6% a year, they're probably at 20% equity now. So not only does the refi help them with the rate, but it's going to get rid of the PMI too. And our new system will actually, it's logged into the value of their house too, so it can tell when they should be close to PMI. So it's not only going to remind me that, hey, their rate's 1% lower, but hey, we can get to PMI too. So it's going to show not just the interest rate saving, but the PMI savings, which is huge for clients who didn't put 20% down.
So to piggyback off that a little bit, that's why we kind of talk about the stats, knowing your market, knowing your rate, appreciation, days on market. It means more than that. So like he's just saying, let's just say you had an FHA buyer that had a smaller amount down and you're trying to get rid of the PMI. So like they're talking about St. Louis County had pretty much a rate of appreciation of 9% year over year. So they've gained 9%. So that's where everybody can start working their magic. These are the things that if you're kind of a true professional, this is the stuff you need to be armed with and talking to your clients about and consumers. I kind of compare it to, and I'll give it a shout out to Michelle's husband. These are the things that a financial planner, John. Hi, John. You're not on here, but we can show him later. If he's paying attention to people's private investments, where their money's at, what should be going on. That's what I think real estate agents should be doing, the good ones for their clientele, their database. Instead of just, hey, I sold a home, take it deeper. You'll stand out, hon. Trust me. You may think this is boring stuff, but it's good for your consumer. One, no one else is putting it out there. You're all friends on Facebook or wherever, Instagram with other real estate agents. Do you really hear anybody talk about this stuff, brass tacks? So that's what I'd recommend. So, leading off of that, 10% St. Louis County, Jefferson County, around 7%. St. Louis City is 4.5%, and I think St. Charles was hovering around 4.2. St. Charles is obviously a little bit less the appreciation because of the supply. I mean, you're probably very familiar with there's new homes going up, subdivisions, developments. There's a lot of options where you come to St. Louis County, it's tighter. St. Louis City, it's tighter. Jefferson County is it's an interesting one. There's a lot of it, but the rate appreciation, boom, boom, boom. So good thing. Anything else, sir?
Nope.
All right.
Holler questions.
Appreciate you.
Know where I'm at.
Thanks, sir. All right. So we'll move through that. Go on to the title side. Those updates. Title industry is holding firm. Fraud is huge. Fraud, fraud, fraud. You need to be in tune with your clients. Let them know the closing process. It's not the title company you choose who's supposed to give them the instructions necessarily. They'll give them to them, but the consumer doesn't really know what they're hearing. So it's your job as an agent. Then also to verify that settlement statement. And then we're going to get into should an agent show up for closing or not. Is an agent required by MREC to be at closing? We're going to talk about some of that today with some of the MREC issues and matters. But just be aware. Fraud. We almost got dinged as a title company Excel for would have been 100-something thousand. They were able to pull back the wire. It's out there. A lot of companies now, title companies are going with even with cashier checks being falsified. Wire is a very secure if done right, but if you have someone jumping in the middle and telling you to wire it somewhere it's not supposed to be, there's nothing you can do about that. So be aware the wiring instructions are correct. I've told everybody about a month ago. Was it a month ago, Alex? 2 months ago? Change your passwords. Any of your email you need to change or do 2-point authentication or whatever, because that's how they're hacking your accounts. Gmail is the big one they hack. And then apparently Gmail, which I did not know, is the worst and the easiest for hackers to hack. I don't know why that is.
AOL might be up there too.
Well, who has AOL?
Well, I won't comment on that.
If there's AOL people, I apologize. But what they do is they take your email, they start shadowing it. They know the communication that's going back and forth, and then they will send direct communication to your client, acting as if, let's say in this example, they see the title company communication going back and forth with you and everything. They steal the information and then they're sending directly to your consumer saying, hey, just as a reminder, here's for closing. And they'll say, let's just use an example, Excel company. The logo kind of looks the same, and your consumers are busy. They don't pay much attention to that. Okay, wire instructions. Guess what they do?
And we're to their account.
That's why we use certified. That's why there's all these things, because it's getting worse and worse. Other thing you're seeing is I see a lot of other title companies now are making it mandatory where everybody thought we were nuts for going with the wire systems and having outside verifications. There's some that won't take funds, cashier's checks over $30,000. They want to wire. So what good is that really doing anyway? I mean, how many closings? You know, for earnest money, great, but you could be using other systems for that. So does that make sense on the title side? Any questions on title? Anything? No matter who you use, put the subject line as the address, get your settlement statements, be in touch. It's not your title company's job to follow up on your contract timeframes. I hear that's still in the industry of everybody blaming the title company. Well, I didn't get the survey till this date. I didn't do this and that. It really is not their job because think about it. They could get a contract on a paper bag that has no contingencies about title search. Some waive it. So it's the agent's job who wrote that contract to protect their buyer to know what that buyer agreed to time frame wise. Just like one buyer may have the standard of 45 days. Another one may put it as 10. So it's the agent's job to stay on them and let them know, hey, I need it, do we have it? So I see too many agents, not just necessarily here, but on the other side that, oh, my title company didn't let me know. That's not an excuse. So for you at home, same thing, realize deadlines are our job. That's why we get paid. Okay. So that closes out kind of title on that. If you are closing in house, please be very nice to Kristen. I can't believe she's here today. She had surgery and didn't miss a day. She was in a pretty good car accident. Had wrist surgery yesterday.
Yeah.
I see her here today. So if you see some people rolling in and out, I'm like, you need to take some time off, but be compassionate, understand that. Nicole's there, Courtney will be here. They'll have some fill-ins, but Kristen is a trooper. I mean, and if you haven't closed with her yet, I think she's phenomenal and committed, but just know that she's in a little pain today. So, title side, turn the chapters on that. What's going on here in the office? Training upcoming. So, closing out. We're doing caffeinated collaborations. Yes, I will be your barista. Yes, I know how to make a lot of coffee drinks. So, come on those days. Come to work. Like, I don't know who was talking to me yesterday in the book club that they just like to be be around people. And I hear more and more of that in the industry. And it's kind of a backlash now. You know, a lot of these companies that are virtual. That's why I've said we can do both. We're best of both worlds, but a lot of them don't have that option now. They have to meet at each other's houses. They have to go to a restaurant. The agents talking yesterday that they like coming in, feel like they're part of something. There's synergy, there's activity, and we work. And that's what these collaborations will be of getting together. I'll throw out one core topic for discussion, but basically we're going to work. And agents can swap ideas. They can steal other agents' ideas or thoughts or basically learn from them. So that is on the 29th at 10 a.m. and on the 12th of November at 10 a.m. Then also we have a class on November 5th. That's going to go into the final chapter of this 3 stages of MAR and MREC issues. Then we're going to get into the ChatGPT AI debate, talking about true technology tools. Alex will break that down of how agents possibly are using it to enhance their career, what you should be doing, and then also what you shouldn't be doing, because a lot of people think it's all you hear everywhere. I don't know if you guys hear like the online commercials always that you're going to have so many millionaires made by AI and Chat GPT, those that are jumping on the technology and that are using it, and you can take a 2-month course. You see all this stuff out there now. So I was kind of going to go through and cut through all that and say, hey, here's what's going on in real estate and show you what we've been using. Yes, sir.
Don't trust your eyes anymore. Sora 2.0 is out, and now videos are like
Yeah.
eerily realistic. So yeah, just start training your brain on that stuff because we're all going to be victims of scams at some point, I'm sure.
The voice recognition is the biggest one. So my girlfriend that is in banking, you want to talk about a regulated industry and a crazy industry with their marketing and with the amount of fraud that goes through is voice recognition that people receive calls. Prime example are usually the seniors, and that's who they're trying to protect with this. And the calls go as weird as, hey, my name is John Doe. I'm here with your mother, Karen Rattery. She's been in a car accident or this or that. Like these are where it's going. And it's here's Karen's voice, and then Karen's voice will chime in like, hey, hon, it's me, or they're getting it from a million different places. And they only need how many words
I think it's like 4 seconds or something.
of your voice to
Yeah.
then try to feed it through. So
So you guys are in a unique position where you have to pick up the phone if you don't recognize the number. So just be aware of that stuff. Don't get paralyzed with fear, but also just be aware if something seems sketchy, feel it out, try and give yourself some checkpoints to be like, all right, I gotta verify before we move forward.
you probably recognize it because sales calls happening that way
Mhm.
to you. And then you all of a sudden like, am I really talking to a human being? And you're like, no, it's AI. So just be aware of that. We'll break that down. I think that'll be a good class to attend. And that is November 5th. And then business planning, December 9th. You should already have your fourth quarter rocking and rolling. If you don't, make sure you get the information that we put out or it's in the group. We're laying out your marketing, but fourth quarter, first quarter, your most important. Fourth quarter, first quarter should be your most touches to your SOI, your most contact, the most calls, everything you should be cranking out. Fourth quarter, first quarter sets up your whole year. So make sure that's coming along, but then we'll do your whole 2026 layout coming up. So that kind of covers everything. Update. Last thing, I put it out to help Noel. Noel does a good job of dispersing, getting out snail mail marketing. However, if you're asking a few minutes before a deadline, I'm going to tell you right now, it's not to be rude or ignorant. It just isn't going to happen. Hey, I need open house flyers. It's 4:30 on Friday. Is it going to happen? Probably not. I need a mailer to go out because what's the next holiday? Indigenous Day and Columbus Day on Monday.
Mhm.
I want a flyer to go out. Will it go out? Well, today's what?
Wednesday.
Wednesday. We're getting close. This should all be in your marketing plan and been planned out. Too much of this is coming in one at the last second saying, hey, I need this now. But also to protect her, it's not her fault. I'm the one to blame. Jess, Chris, and Alex are the ones to blame, not Noel. We asked for this marketing order form to be filled out. It's quality control, and then we can gauge what's going on and make sure things are being done right by her for you all. So verbal, I can't track, a phone call, all that, or even just an email. Yes, these are the forms. They're out there. Just need a signed off order. Tell her what you want done, and it'll roll. Reminder: as you get to the end of the year, it's a huge mailing season.
Mhm.
Everything from calendars to Christmas cards to invites to your holiday events to SOI updates. So just be aware we're going into a heavier time. And if we see an influx coming in of too much, it'll never get outside the normal realms. I have people that can come in and will take care of it. So it's never going to be like, oh, I got to wait weeks. That's not it. It's just day of or right away. We should be planning, run it like a business. Okay. All right, that's it. Anything anybody wants to talk about? First, foremost, anything? Brittany, how are you? Is your mom okay?
My room, that is fine.
I'm asking her about you. You keeping her sanity? She be nice to you?
Yeah.
Good answer. We learned.
If she pitches on the table.
Letters and numbers, very important. You should tell all these people that. Or numbers. Say, mom, make sure, I believe your mom probably does. Compensation is fully filled out. The title company. You ever hear this stuff? No, all right. All right. All right, so let's jump in. First, this is kind of a quick review. For those at home, this will be put out and you'll have, if you have questions, put it in the question box, the chat box.
Chat.
Alex
I'm
will
monitoring
coordinate
the
that.
chat.
So first and foremost is basically your advertising compliance with the MREC. It's the Wild West out there. You can throw anything you want. I'm just letting you know that a lot of these things are being looked at and a lot of these things are actually filed complaints as we talk about them. And that's where a lot of this comes from. Advertising compliance, what terms agents can do and use. Do. You can use your license name and your brokerage name and your phone number. That hasn't changed since the beginning of dinosaurs in real estate. Specific. Cannot use. This is the problem. And I could point out probably 5 agents today, not in here, but at other companies that are using, and you don't know who's what. And I'm fine with that. We've always been about marketing you, but just making sure you're protected, because I think that probably potentially there could be a clean sweep of complaints filed that'll clean all this up in one swoop. And what I mean by that is you cannot use words like realty. So I'm Todd Matashek with Realty Executives of St. Louis, and here's my phone number. Correct. I cannot say I'm Todd Matashek Realty. Todd Matashek, real estate. Okay. It has to be specified. You cannot do that. Team or group names, the Smith Group at Realty Executives, the McKitty team, group, associates, advisors, that's all good. You cannot have says don't team or group logos, branding needs, powered by Realty Exec St. Louis. You can, but it cannot be overpowering. Does that make sense? The Realty Executives, there's a balance with that. So do not hide the brokerage's license name. That's the big problem. A lot of agents out here in the industry don't even put who the brokerages they're with. They are using their branded name. I won't make the same mistake I made last month, but there are group names that sound like law firms. It's say 4 agents, their last names, agent. Sounds like a law firm. And they're not an independent company, they just work as a group together, but it sounds like that's the company name. So there's a lot of things out there. Anything you want to point out on that, Alex?
Yeah, I like you said, like Brown, Burke, and Smith is like, is that a attorney office or a real estate group? But yeah, just watch this stuff.
Basically, the thing they're wanting to see on there is that the company name is there. The company name is someone. Believe me, this isn't about my ego or I care necessarily about the company name. I just want to, because this is the easiest thing for you to be found in violation. Why? Because all they gotta do is click, snapshot, they have it, and it's out everywhere. So you're kind of hung with that. So that's all on that. So moving into lotteries and raffles. Anybody want to hear on that? We covered it last time. So basically here's lotteries are prohibited. Why? Because the term lottery is used in a bigger scenario, if that makes sense. This usually has to do with what? Winning and winning what? Money. And then they don't want to be getting money from real estate, but also misconstrued that money is being given out. And or usually why doesn't the government like it? Because if money is being given out, what does the government want?
Your shit.
Their taxes. So lotteries are prohibited. Missouri license law and criminal statutes do not allow real estate licensees to conduct lotteries as a form of promotion. A lottery generally means something that requires consideration, chance, and prize. Well, you may say I do giveaways. Well, that's somewhat different. And this is where they say raffles are considered a form of lottery if they meet the same 3 elements. In Missouri, raffles can only be conducted legally by certain charitable or religious organizations that are registered with the state. A licensed real estate brokerage or agent cannot legally run one. Now, contests versus lotteries. Contests of skill can be permissible. Giveaways without consideration may be permissible. And then there's more details on this, but I'm going to put on here that it'll be in the Facebook office group. Take a look at that. Usually, they're looking to get away from I give you something to get something. And why is that? Missouri is a inducement state. There's other, yes, sir.
For those of us that have been to Venice a while, is that kind of how Gundaker got away? Got away is probably the wrong word. 10G program they had about 15 years ago.
I don't know that they necessarily got away from that. There was some funk that came out of that, I believe, at the end.
I was a winner of one of them.
Yeah.
I took my own horn, but I'm like, I thought it was good, all of a sudden they shut it down.
Yeah, because
That,
I won one of those as well.
congratulations.
so does anybody remember what that was? The
Take it
10
away.
If you show, so I come to you, Brittany, let's just say as the seller, say, here's a unique marketing program we're doing. You will put part of the commission towards this pool of money.
If you were an agent with Gundaker, and you listed it with 6%, you ask the seller to pay an additional $250. You're my boss, so tell me if I'm doing this right.
No, you're right, and it went in a
It
pool.
went into a pool, so 40 home sellers, regardless of the agent that sold the home, 40 times 250 equals 10 grand, i.e. 10G. They had a lottery at the Westport Playhouse party. And they
Every
pulled out
month, every
names.
month,
You had a 1 in 40 chance.
and 1 out of 40, yeah, 1 out of 40.
So you can hear a lot of
I won
things.
the very
You
last
can
one.
say it's
Less.
chance,
It was 4 grand.
money, so where does it fit in? So I think that's why it eventually got kibosh. And at the end of the day, was it an inducement too? You could say, well, no, it's coming from the seller. No different than, that's why if you've noticed, we got out of compensation for so many months now. What are we, 12 months out of offering compensation as a brokerage to a brokerage? Same thing with bonuses. So think about that. Did bonuses really help your seller? My advice was always give it in the way as a form. Who do you want to really get interested? The buyer. A bonus was just like a lucky luck for an agent. Like, oh, I had a buyer already that was looking at that. I got the bonus. Yes, sir.
I'm sorry, but I got lucky too.
I did too, I won some bonuses.
John Schwab had a listing where 20 years ago, more relocation companies took over Pepsi, Coke, Anheuser-Busch, Boeing, and Pepsi Cola paid out a 10 grand commission, bonus to the commission, and I got lucky on that one.
Yeah, so it's
Self-putting on
Bring it
horn.
back is what you're saying.
Yeah.
you can see how the industry has evolved and why these things.
They don't have it no more.
Yeah, they don't.
And when's the last time since we've changed our compensation standards in the industry that it's basically offered by the seller, not from us brokerages? Can a seller still offer it? Sure. When's the last time you've seen a bonus? Have you seen one lately?
No.
Really don't want to get involved with it because common sense prevailed now, like it's pointless. So, all right, so those are other things. So let's get into, and I'm gonna skip through because red we already went through. Okay. So the first question is. Oh,
Oh,
should have brought my mouse here right now. Jesus.
That's okay.
Let's just leave it right there.
alrighty.
So the question is, does the seller have to provide a seller's disclosure if he is selling the property as is?
Yes.
Answer is yes. Okay. The answer is no. State of Missouri does not require seller's disclosure statements. Some states require the seller to fill out a disclosure statement. So your answer is halfway, maybe correct.
Okay.
We as a company, from a risk management standpoint and a liability situation, require a disclosure statement.
Is the contract with no seller's disclosure will be provided?
Well, typically, if you're the listing side, so this is on the listing side, it should have already been provided because you listed the property, had it ready. On the buyer side, if there isn't one, I can't control that. So that's not required on the buyer side. So why is it required? And if in this situation, let's just stick with it's as is. If it's as is, why would it be as is? Let's throw that out there real quick.
Probably.
Inheritance, out of town,
Never lived in the
never,
property.
don't do a thing about it.
Who else always does as is? Or doesn't disclose
Investors.
Rehabbers, investors.
Never lived in.
Right.
So it's the biggest liability there.
Yeah.
So if you're listing rehabbers, investors, we always request, one is because it takes the liability off of you, the agent. That rehabber went in and saw what is always the problem first they see. This basement needs to be cleaned up. We sealed the cracks and then we
Painted.
painted it.
Right,
They knew something existed. Okay, it had crappy HVAC. We updated it. It had a leak. We fixed that. Well, do they always fix everything correctly?
no,
Are there good rehabbers and investors and horrible ones?
yes,
So, if you're gonna list that, why let them take on the liability? They're supposed to. Now, that's that example. Why a rehabber and investor, if you're flipping it or selling it for them. Next is my mother passed away. Okay. Not saying that's gonna happen, Jerry. But let's say she does, and Chris and I are to handle her home. I know a lot about that home. Why? He calls us quite regularly. Chris has probably been over there. So do I have knowledge of that home?
Limited.
So from a disclosure standpoint, if I'm the agent, I have some liability. So I would say, hey, I will fill out disclosure as executor of the estate or whatever it is, but I'm gonna put that I have limited knowledge. It was my mother's home. I know 2 things that I helped address her with. Other than that, I haven't lived there, don't know anything else beyond that. So talking to your seller and saying, or whoever's gonna be the seller, what do you know? Okay. I'm handling it, and my great uncle passed away a year ago, and I finally got through all the legal mumbo jumbo. Here's my paper. I own the home now. Okay, I've never occupied it, but in the last year, remember we had that hailstorm? The roof, half of it was blowing off, so I had to have put a new roof on. So do I now have knowledge of that property? So that's all you can ask them to do is fill out what they know. Does that make sense? So is it a requirement that they fill it out? No. If a seller says, I know nothing of the property, great. Here's the disclosure statement. Feel free to write that on there. You don't have to answer any of those questions. That way we're covered, because if litigation comes back, we can say, hey, we did our job. We presented it to them. We never lived there. We don't know the property. They should have filled it out. Because in the state of Missouri, you are accountable for what you know and don't disclose. And trust me, this is the biggest thing we have from a litigation standpoint is disclosure issues. Disclosure issues. This is the biggest thing that becomes the legal headache or the argument between buyers and sellers. Someone comes in, wants to buy, they see that it's as is, they go in, they're having their inspections, they spent money, and then they're talking to the neighbor, and the neighbor's like, oh, you're buying that home, it's that empty for whatever. Oh, it flooded last 2 weeks ago, the basement, that big storm. It did. Now I've sent money on inspections. I think we're good to go. Even though I said I was buying as is. Go back. Well, the seller had to know because they had someone come out, serve pro, whatever, clean it all up. There's the liability. See where this happens? It never goes away. Like it's always talking to the neighbor. Also, we have good clients that buy homes and then can track down who's service. There's people that will get on the phone and start calling every roofer, calling every plumber. Hey, do you have this address in your system? Have you come out to it when they start hearing these rumors? People can get very good at investigating. So, does that answer that question? Any questions on that?
Just from experience, recently, I had a buyer who was under contract for a home. We were doing inspections. It looked a little fishy in the basement. The mom was in a nursing home now, and the son was helping out. Very limited disclosure, of course.
Okay.
But we couldn't find anything. There wasn't anything wrong. It looked too clean. And we had them look up insurance, because you have 10 days to do that. They did it
Sure.
right away. And we ended up finding out that there was a $60,000 insurance claim that was done a year before that for the basement and all this work that was never disclosed on the property. And she's like, oh yeah, I totally forgot about that.
oh, jeez.
That's
So,
how it always happens. And then here's the thing for like where it looks at with the MRC or your license is what you know or what you should have known? Is it a latent, hidden defect? Does that check all the boxes right there?
Yes.
Latent,
Pretty much.
hidden defect. Now, who's gonna get lumped in that? The list agent and the seller. But where are you protected if you were the list agent of that property?
Here's the missions.
Here's their, whether they admitted guilt or honest by what they filled in or did not fill in. Because the state does protect us a little, is that we're not supposed to be experts on this stuff. So that's where you get out of kind of jail free.
Can I add something to that? Because
Mhm.
I had a similar situation where I was representing the seller, and then lo and behold, oh yeah, I completely forgot we had this $25,000 claim that flooded the whole bathroom and everything, a place situation. So ever since then, when I talk to sellers, because I've had sellers who are reluctant to share that information, they know that they filed a claim, but they're reluctant. I remind them that pretty much every home has the equivalent of what we have as a personal credit report. It's called a clue report.
Mhm.
And so it's visible. You can't hide it. It's always on the record for your house. So if you think you're gonna get away with it, you're not. Because as soon as their insurance agent pulls your house, the whole record of all claims is gonna show up.
And that's where what you're saying is the skill in the buyer consult side, that's a whole separate situation. But then the listing presentation, the listing consult. Because this is the thing I always had, like if I listed a home and it was every time, the first thing a seller says, whether I knew them very well or didn't know them, would be, man, that's gonna hurt the sale of my home. That's usually what they say. Because I fixed it. Okay, great. That's what I always say. When in doubt, write it out. You've heard that forever. For me, that's always been the motto. When in doubt, write it out. Whether you're writing a contract, whether you're there filling out the stuff. When in doubt, write it out. But let me put you in the buyer's position, Mr. and Mrs. Seller. This is what I would say. If you're out looking at this property and you see the disclosure that, okay, they disclosed there was a leak. Okay, an old home had a leak. It was interesting where my kids like to store Matchbox cars. It's in the toilet. Nice place to find them, right? Created a leak, boop, see this bubble like you see in the movies, pop it and everything. Whoosh. It's all fixed, done right. So a lot of people say, well, I don't want to disclose that. It's been fixed. I would say do disclose it because maybe it was a leak in the attic somewhere, or there's proof of water damage, and that raises more eyebrows and creates more problems than it needs to be. Whereas if I said, yes, here's what happened. My kids shoved Matchbox cars in the toilet. They thought it was a good place to hide them. Toilet clogged, pipe leaked, New drywall installed, dried out correctly. And I have paperwork to even provide for that. Here's the receipts. Now, as a buyer, would you be okay with that now?
Yes.
Yeah. Things happen. Now, imagine that doesn't get disclosed. Guy goes in there, he somehow discovers a little bit of water, pre-existing water. You hear that all the time. At one time, but I can't tell you what it is. If I come to you with that as a buyer, or from your building inspector, now what do you feel?
What else are they hiding?
Or also, yeah, exactly. What's wrong? Is it fixed? Well, the only way we can tell you ever have these problems, you gotta tear into the drywall. You ever hear that? Can't tell until we really open it all up. So these are examples I would use for a seller and just say, this is why it's better when in doubt, write it out. Sometimes you see water down, and a lot of times it's as simple as drains are clogged. Water will find least path of resistance go down. I mean, I have it. I don't know if it's weird that I do that. Has anybody watered their lawn by their foundation over the last couple of months? I do. Why? Because I don't want all that soil pulling away, and we're gonna get this next storm, and I'm gonna find out where I do have cracks. Anyway, so it's a little tip at home free.
And face mask stuff does not go down the drain.
Just so you know.
Look at her looking.
Period. especially the charcoal ones.
Yeah.
There you go, see? See what you learned today? She's like, all right, so seller's disclosures. Now, moving on, and then as is. When a list of appliances are on the public MLS sheet, does that mean they convey with the home? Good. So, let's take it a step further. Very obvious, sounds easy. For many years, people would say, even recently, as seen. All appliances included as seen on this date. How are you going to prove what was seen unless you took pictures? If you're going to put as seen, list what you saw. Okay? Thumbs up. Had one of those not too long ago. It wasn't us. It was on the buyer side, wrote it that way, I think. But then also it might be good to counter back on some of the things. So, as seen. Write them out. When in doubt, write them out. The biggest ones are washers, dryers, refrigerators. Because a lot of times people will put on the seller's disclosure included, or they'll put in the MLS. All appliances to remain. It's written that way. Sounds clear as day. You write your offer, you don't address any of that. Close, go to the house.
They're gone.
They're gone. Sounds like it should be an open shut case because I have it. Look, they put it in the MLS all.
Contract carries the day.
Because the terms could change. You could have said, well, I accepted the offer at that price because now I'm taking those back out. And I don't have to tell you because it's not in the contract. So you need to write it out, list it. The old days, people would put the MLS as part of this agreement. That's fine. It's kind of stupid. And then have everybody sign on the MLS sheet. Write it out as included. Big things. What is included or isn't? Outdoor kitchens now. Is that actually built in? Or the personal property, the barbecue pit? Some just fit in really nice and they look like they're there. Some are actually built in.
And mine refrigerators.
Mm.
Always miss stuff.
Tucked in? Yes. So all these different things we're dealing with today. Brackets, technology, things like that. Our contract provides for what's included. The bracket, not the TV. Speakers, flush mounted. If they're not flush mounted, not included. So these things need to be written in. So MLS sheet means nothing. Disclosure statement means nothing. Give you a different example. Instead of an appliance, a home warranty is being offered in the MLS, but you don't check it off in the contract. Is it included?
No.
Exactly. All right. Any questions on that? You'd be amazed how many people are filing complaints on that one. Why? 9 out of 10 agents aren't as educated as you all. So, yes, sir.
On the refrigerator, make sure you say kitchen or garage refrigerator or basement or, the small beer refrigerator, because they won't give you the nice one.
Don't give you the one out in the garage.
Yeah,
They
they
won't
be specific.
give you the
Big
stainless
there.
steel in the kitchen.
And I have found whenever an agent screws up or makes the mistake, and it's
Yes,
not
money.
you all, it'd be the list agent probably or whatever, that guess what they're going to give you as a replacement?
Cheapo.
I use one.
The first thing they find off of
Marketplace.
Craigslist, Marketplace, their Aunt Betty, whoever. So, all right, now I should have showed you the answers, but I already did. So, is a broker required to attend closing? No, by license law, no. I have found that there's some agents in this industry that never attended a closing. Because why? They're of the mindset, oh, it's the title company's job. Well, you're the one that bundled everything to get it to the title company to know. Plus, you want to present value, present that you're there. And I feel it is an obligation to be there. So we request, part of the policy manual in this company is that you attend closing. If not, if they're closing here, I can sit in, whatever, that's fine, but I think you made it to the finish line, why would you not be there? But there are questions, because I've had agents ask. Because the problem is this, how many have had something's not closed at the closing table? And you're going back and forth. So you're going back and forth. If you're not even there, it's pretty hard because let's play out an example of last week. This amendment came across to the title person. And the other agent is saying this needs to be signed at closing. That agent's not even at closing to know whether that's part of the sale or not. Title company's sitting there hanging with it, holding it, waiting. So, be at closing. Is it a issue with the MREC? If you're not, no. Is it a company issue for me? Yes, and our policy is we recommend that you be there. So. And if you really are bored, I'll give you this. I'm giving you the cliff notes. But if you want statutes, you want anything, so like this, which you already know about your settlement statements, timely, those are statutes. So there are things there that you're supposed to be doing. That being said, still shall remain broker's responsibility to require closing statements to be prepared, to review the closing statement. So that's the funny thing. Remember where agents don't get it? Don't look at it? There should never be a reason why your commission is wrong, your compensation. You should have clearly stated to them, you should be reviewing everything. There should be no mistakes on that settlement statement because you verified. Now, if there's a statement like, oh, the home warranty was missed, that happens all the time. How can that happen? Certain things were missed, repairs that were supposed to be paid receipts. Should not happen because the agent should be reviewing it. So if you want to put 20 CSR 2250-8.150, section 1 and 2 in your pocket. There you go.
Do some agents not, well, that's a stupid question. Do a lot of agents not review the settlement disclosure with their buyers or sellers prior to closing?
I would hope not. But yes, because here's the fact of the matter in the industry, unfortunately, I would guarantee a lot of them don't know how to explain it. The prorations. You know, the certain part that, like, if I sit down with a client, say the buyer, say, you know, I say, I can't verify this, but you got your good at faith. You should, you know, all your lender settlement fees, these should have all been disclosed. You know about all them. But some agents don't understand, like, prorations. You know, we had, was it last week, and a seller didn't want to pay the real estate taxes, was that it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Because
From January 1st to the day of closing.
yeah.
They just didn't understand.
But what in their listing you didn't explain them
Exactly.
from day one?
So those are things,
the title company dues every month is 30 days.
amen.
Divided by how
So you can head these things off too, before you get to the closing table, and then all this stuff comes up. I have so many of these that shoot through my head, I'm foggy on that one, but I remember that was last week.
Yeah. Well, and a good rule of thumb is, do some agents insert ridiculous claim? Yes, right? You can't answer that yourself. I'm like, well, I know that some agents don't have the capacity or educated enough to explain. And that's where it's like, you know, set yourself apart, right? Because this is kind of your competition. If an agent isn't doing some of that stuff, take that as an opportunity to explain and use that in your marketing.
This
if
is
you
your
can.
value
Like,
proposition.
this
So
is
your
education.
value proposition is I am a problem solver. This is what you get paid to do. You don't get paid to stick the yard sign in. You don't get paid to put a lockbox. That's a little part of it. You get paid to consult, to advise. Here's the same thing as, say, on the flip side, from a company standpoint, we get paid to cater to your career. Yeah, we can order your signs, we can help you with providing lockbox, we can help you with it. My job and the value comes into play of how do they help me? So every time there's a question or a problem That's not a bad thing here. Over there, some days you can get to where like, yeah, this is getting ugly. But it's the value proposition. You ask a question, I answer, you're satisfied, you feel better, you've increased our relationship. My value hopefully is going up. You don't ever need me. You don't think of me. You figure I can do this anywhere. I don't need the support. Same thing your buyers and sellers think of. So problems in moderation are good. So moving forward, a mutual release. You see more of them because you can terminate offers immediately. What is a mutual release and what does it do?
Terminates the contract,
Okay.
determines who gets the earnest money.
Are there any repercussions once it's all done?
Maybe a stain on keeping the home on the market and selling it.
Possibly. So from a legal standpoint, one is when you talk to a buyer or seller, we're not lawyers, but the first thing they need to know, and it states that, it is fine them. That's why we always want the mutual release. Even though sometimes the contract's very clear that it's dead, we want a finalized statement showing that it's dead, null and void. And why is that? Because once they sign that, if they have bad feelings a week later or a month later, or someone's chirping in there at work that I can't believe that happened or whatever, they can't come back. It's done. It's over. You cannot pursue litigation. And I've seen people that have tried. And if you have that, the document is there, mutual release, like you waived all right, like we're done. Everything is done. So the second thing with the mutual release is people fill them out half-assed. Why they fill them out half-assed? Because agents, pardon my language, sorry.
You're gonna hear it.
Why do they fill them out that way? Because it feels dead. I don't care. Buyer's agent may be upset that they lost the deal. Listing agent's like, I can't believe it's blowing up. We need to get mutual release, so they don't fill it out completely. They half it. They don't put the correct names in. So please fill out accurate information. Now, does the broker need to sign a mutual release? The broker of record.
Yes.
States that. We have yeses so far.
Well, if it's no, then I'm sorry I had you sign one of the others.
I'm always gonna have you sign them.
Yeah.
And I always just, so you know.
Oh, stuff like that, yeah.
I don't care.
You wanna make sure it's done right.
Yeah.
Both brokers have to sign.
So it's a yes and no. Brittany, what do you think? Does the broker have to sign it?
Yeah,
Okay. So
well, they're going to.
at the heart of it, the answer is yes. Why? Because the broker is ultimately responsible for oversight. However,
We got a lot of half yes, half no's in reality.
so however,
It's a gray zone.
your company can dictate, and we in the policy manual allow for our agents to sign the mutual release. So there is no wrong answer. If
Sorry.
you want me to sign it? No, that's fine.
No.
Now, so here's okay, then here's the problem. So don't be sorry, Brittany, because a lot of times you'll have the other agency say, I need the broker's signature. Well, Brittany, are you the broker of record? No. Well, I have authority. A lot of times they think you're saying that just to make it easy and get out of it,
Uh-huh.
because their brokerage requires it. Because their brokerage plays Big Brother, and usually a lot of brokerages go one way. They either have too much oversight or none at all, and they require broker signature. So that's why a lot of agents say, look, Todd, I know I can sign it, but I just don't want to have to come back and revisit this if they keep saying they want my broker signature. So you send it through. Now, if you're going to send it to Chris or I, you have digital signatures. If you send it to me as a PDF, it's probably going to come back at a later date. So, does that make sense? You're sending it to your clients as digital signature, but why don't we get it as digital? So you're wanting me to either upload it, go in and do all that, which I don't mind, but it's not gonna be just instant where all I had to do before was look at it and click it. Because there's not many that do that, but occasionally I'll get a PDF.
Yeah.
And or if you want it, text me, hey Todd, most agents do it. Heads up, got a mutual release coming. Reason why. If you're sending it through STL Realtors forms, it's gonna go on my junk mail. I can guarantee that. I've approved it a million times saying, hey, anything comes through, come into my regular mail, it goes in through spam. So if anybody's using that system, just so you know, that could be a problem. So text me, because I don't know what's sitting there. If it's sitting in my spam, so I have to bring it out and look at it and find it through 200 emails because all the junk's sitting in there. Bring it over.
Forms or Us comes to you.
Forms are us, Sky Slope, things like that, but there are people use dot loop comes to me. The problem with dot loop is sometimes you don't know dot loop's used as a big scam. A lot of times I'll get documents from a lot of different companies through dot loop. That says your signature is required, and I'm like, I don't recognize the email address. So I may have an agent will complain from time to time, said, Todd, my referral company sent you something. I'm like, well, then tell me that prior so I know where it's coming from, because I get a lot of stuff they want me to sign that I'm not going to. So, okay. So what does it do? The essential effect of signing and agreeing to a mutual release is that it, as if the contract that releases refers never existed. I mean, they're to the point. No legal. If your buyer or seller is considering legal, they should not sign it. And all of our forms say what?
Consult an attorney.
Consult an attorney, advise them to do that. Well, I want to go back on the market, and that's a situation that is, I won't get into. You can come to me direct when you have those, because every situation is different. Because anyone ever had where the buyer got out per the contract because of loan denial, and the seller is upset and says, because their agent didn't explain this was a contingency that could happen, and they won't sign a mutual release now.
But they don't want to give them the earnest deposit.
Yeah, so now the money's tied up. So those are specific situations. Come to me, let me work on with you or for you, because each one is unique in itself. Okay? Mutual releases. All right. This is one that's coming into play a lot lately. Whoop. Buyer submits an offer using MAR forms. Everybody familiar with MAR forms? You are familiar with what? SLAR. So why would you get a MAR form? Maybe it's a rural agent. Maybe it's an independent agent. They don't belong to SLAR, so they don't have access to using our forms. They're with a major conglomerate, some of these major brokerages. The forms are all over the place. I won't name names, but the kind of company that has one broker for a whole state. Anybody know of those? There's a few of them out there right now. So the broker goes with, and a lot of times they may use a MAR form because the broker that is familiar with MAR. But that one broker that's over the whole state, think about how many different boards you threw out, whether it's over towards Kansas, up north, down south. That how do they know these forms and what they are? So a lot of times they may use ARM. So the original question is, you get an offer on a MAR form. You're going to counter. Can you use a SLAR form?
They should all be consistent.
Should be consistent, absolutely. You kind of want to figure out, but you may come to a crossroad. One is because some of our forms don't click, if that makes sense.
Paragraphs and all that stuff.
So like in a generic could probably be used. Like, okay, the counter offer form, that's pretty specific because it just says paragraph. Could you get away with that? Yes. An amendment, you're already under contract, MAR contract. Could you use a SLAR amendment? Is it legally recognized? Yes. The problem is they don't want you getting involved, like you said, some of the forms just don't add up and match with the timeframes. Like an appraisal writer, contingency for sale and closing, totally different. But I see sometimes we have these files coming through, juggling back and forth. So legally, there is no requirement, but for best practices, get on the train of what you know. And that's where you're gonna have to make a decision. If it's me, I would at least probably recommend an agent, no standard mark contract. If you've never used one, you can pull it up. It's through your online forms. You have MAR forms. You have your SLAR forms. The MAR forms sometimes have different time frames. They look a little different, but the context is pretty much the same. It's giving you all a lot of the same protections. But if you read through it, it's pretty self-explanatory. But I would read through it before you use it. If you're going to use that and accept it, read it first before you then go and present to your seller if you're not versed on it. Okay. If you're going to use commercial, you're going to use a MAR form. We use MAR for commercial. If you use farm and land, MAR.
We just did one.
Large acreage, MAR. Vacant land disclosure, that's a form. MAR. SLAR does not have that. So figure out which way you need to be. Maybe you go down to the Lake of the Ozarks, which if you did not know, we do belong to that board. Prior agents would maybe write an offer on a SLAR form, and down at the lake, they say, no, we're Bagnell Dam or whatever. We don't want your
SLAR.
put it on ours. So SLAR. Use what you know. Don't. You should be aware. Is it illegal? A lot of agents. So you may get that.
Can I ask a question, Todd?
Yep.
I have a weird scenario going on right now.
Never heard of those.
Yeah, I have the buyers for a house that's in St. Louis County,
Uh-huh.
that originally started off as a private sale. The seller invited them,
Uh-huh.
her and neighbor, to purchase this home. And then he proceeded to go and get an extremely inexperienced agent who's based out of Columbia.
Okay.
So she doesn't know our contract at all.
Sure.
That's been delightful. But my question is, she listed the house in the Columbia MLS.
Okay.
So I wrote the offer on the SLAR forms.
Fine.
She sent back an amendment that is on a MAR farm, so
Okay.
it should be okay.
Okay.
But when the sale closes, is she required to input it into Maris? Or can it just stay in the Columbia system where I'm
No,
not
not-
a member? And
no, it's she's been
she's a
fun.
member here. She's in.
Where's it
Maris.
showing listed?
Well, the only reason I knew that it was in the MLS is because my buyers noticed that it showed up as pending on Zillow. And then it says at the bottom that it's credited to the Columbia.
So she'll have to make it closed out through there.
Okay,
No requirement.
so,
That's where she listed through her own board.
okay,
And it would be under, actually, their Maris guidelines or MLS, whatever their MLS guidelines are. But if it's listed in there, it'll have to close out through there.
so it don't matter that though the forms originated from here.
So those are different issues too.
Yeah.
So your MLSs. Well, so then there's license. And our state licensing entity provides forms. Or not, no, I'm sorry, I take that back. Missouri Division of Professional Registration does not provide the forms. They provide all the licensing. Then there's a division, MAR, Missouri Association of Realtors that we belong to. For the state, agents that belong to that have those forms. Then we belong to SLAR. She belongs to Columbia's, I think, Boone Valley, Boone County, something, Boone, I don't know.
Okay.
I think, so then each board that you belong to, you choose a contract and then like who your MLS is and your provider. So everybody would have different, so she would fall under her own board, who then has a contract with a MLS, who then she uses and then would have to subscribe to their rules. So if it was listed and put in there, they will require it to close out through there.
Can it also be inputted? Like, it's a great comp for this neighborhood and it would be really nice. to
Could she
feel
put
like
it in, she won't, she doesn't have to, could she?
But
Could
can
you
she do
get,
both?
well, only if she was a member of this board.
She is,
Yeah, then she could put it in there.
yeah.
And that's where it'd be interesting, she's a member of this board, there might be conflicting, because this board requires you to put it in too, so she probably, it's a good thing I'll look into further, because
Okay.
when you list the property, you're saying you're gonna put it in your MLS.
Mhm.
Unless you have an except, now she may have some type of exception sign, I don't know, but
She just doesn't know what she's doing.
that's not,
No, I mean.
not uncommon,
Yeah.
so. Okay. Let's talk about rescission. Can a buyer or seller revoke an offer or counter offer before the other party has notice of acceptance?
Yes,
One yes. Anybody else? Yes.
Rescinded.
That's the word, yes.
Mhm.
So revoke, rescind. So generally under contract law, an offer or counteroffer may be revoked by the offerer at any time before acceptance by the offeree. Well, what is acceptance? So this is the thing that, especially in multiple offer situations, and I'm pulling back counters, an agent needs to be aware of. You can rescind. Let's just say I write an offer today on Michelle's listing. My buyer calls me after driving away and says, guess what, Todd? I just got canned. Sorry to hear that. We need to cancel that offer. So before Michelle even does anything, I put it in writing to her. I have to have a paper trail. And in that email, I'm going to say, Michelle, my apologies. Just want to let you know the buyer has rescinded their offer. Contract is null and void. And also, I'm going to put, we have not heard any response back. Because what if they want to play games and say, sorry, Todd, we already accepted it. Well, my written paper trail already shows a historical timeline better. Why that would come into play? Let's say I submit it. And Michelle's people love it. They accept it right away. But Michelle is going off to a kid's event. So her people sign it. It's accepted. She goes off to an event, gotta get to school, hasn't sent it back the accepted contract yet. And I then call, say 2 hours later, still not heard back. Her people already accepted it. And I say, hey, Michelle, just letting you know, an email just came across that offers is null and void. We have not heard response yet. Da, da, da. Well, you say I've already signed off on it. So she signed off on it immediately. So is it accepted or is it not?
I haven't received it.
It has to be upon delivery of notice too. And that's why verbal means nothing. Even if she called me, how are we gonna prove that? So that's why you always put it, that's even good too. Yeah, you can at least take a picture if it's accepted. Boom, you have a paper, good point. Paper trail. Here you go. I know I'm gonna go meet so-and-so. One, you should always send it, protect your people immediately, but hey, things happen, life happens. So now you counter back and forth a million times. That could happen too. And in the middle of that, let's just say Michelle's people countered back. And it's to me now. Submitted the offer. Michelle's people looked at it, said, counter back right away, and writing comes to me. I can't get with my people. They're in meetings or they're whatever. Michelle, in the meantime, has another offer come in. They like it. Michelle should put in writing, email first. So this document, paper trail. Hey, we rescind our counter offer, contract is null and void. We've heard no response on our counter out to you. You always want to word it that way. Because otherwise, what are they gonna say? Well, we've already accepted, and they don't want to be a verbal battle.
If the seller responds back in the counter, they cannot entertain until that accepted
Yeah.
deadline date.
I could have, well, that'd be just like, I could have 20 things going on. That's the big thing is we don't want to sell the property to 2 or 3 people. And believe it or not, that has happened over the years a couple times. Agents aren't watching time frames or they didn't rescind. In the meantime, instead of rescinding, it gets accepted. Didn't put out the rescission. I already sent it back and my acceptance goes to her before her rescission comes to me, even though she accepted the other offer. Michelle's now sold the property to 2 people. And it happens.
That's the reason buyers agents sometimes ask you, what is your response time? if you're working another contract, because they might come in, no contingencies, a lot higher,
Mhm.
and you know, a much better contract.
Before texting, before email and all that, they used to say, first words out of my mouth. Because this is how they used to teach it years
The
ago.
offer's been accepted.
Offers accepted, or Michelle, I don't even get high up. Our offer's been rescinded. Because if she picks up the phone and says, hey Todd, how are you? Offer's accepted. Before I could say it's rescinded, it was accepted. Now, how did you prove all that? Very difficult, but the point being is that the emphasis of the timeline has to be there. Okay? Any questions of that? All right, this is the big one that hopefully never get into, but the most common one I've seen this year is everybody thinks situation, buyer accepted, seller.
You don't like it.
All right, so buyer accepts contract,
Yes.
then buyer wants to cancel it. Seller says, no, you're in breach. Sorry, it threw me off a minute. What was I saying? Buyer makes offer, seller accepts. Okay. Buyer now wants out of the contract. Buyer remorse, let's say. All the conditions satisfied. I hear this all the time from agents. Well, they can just keep my earnest money. And they think they're out by forfeiting earnest money. I've heard that from agents in the industry numerous times. Well, what's going to happen? Well, you're going to lose your earnest money. Fine. I'm going to lose that. I want out. They have to agree to that. They could get your earnest money and they could ask for more. Just because you say you're forfeiting your earnest money doesn't mean you're out of jail free. Does that make sense? A lot of agents explain it that way to their buyers. Well, what's the worst that could happen? Well, they're going to take your earnest money. Well, true, they can try to. They either need a legal action or you to mutually agree to that, or they may say for more. And I've had that where mutual release comes and we go back and forth where now the buyer says, look, I have expenses. I paid a building inspector. I have a moving truck. I'm sorry, I want my earnest money back. That's an automatic. This is okay, flip side. They're gonna give it back, but then they want more money on top of it. So they fill it in that way. Or the seller says, no, buyer says no. Either way, a mutual release is not automatic if you just want to give up the money. If that makes sense.
And if nobody agrees, that money can sit there for years.
So here's the process with that. And that's what a buyer needs to know. I think that's what agents are aware of, how the process works. How we explain it is, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, if you don't agree to a mutual release, a mutual ending of this all, let's just say buyer says, I want out, I'll give you the 5,000, I don't care, bye-bye. And seller says, nope. I have a property under contract, I'm closing, I've got expenses too on my back end. I want your earnest money and I want 10 grand on top of it. And we've had that. If you notice, builders contracts are very different. That's why they ask for a bigger, there's more pain. Usually it's 25 or 50 you'd be walking from. So let's just say it's 5 grand. They say, okay, 5 grand and the extra 10 grand on top of it. They put that in a mutual release, they sign, they part ways. If they can't come to an agreement, we cannot force it legally. So that's a big problem a lot of buyers and sellers have due to the ill communication of the agent. They think that a lawyer will be assigned and we go after them for breach. And I tell them, no, we're not the principal in the transaction. I can recommend legal counsel for you. If you want to pursue it legally, you have every right. Most lawyers will say, I need a $10,000 retainer to pursue this. And that's when the stuff gets real and usually they work it out. But if they do not, let's just say the seller's in the wrong. Buyer had like we talked about earlier, buyer had a loan commitment rejection, a legitimate way out. And the seller says, baloney, they had a pre-approval. I'm not signing a mutual release. They can sit there as long as The day is, I don't care, I'm not signing. So it sits there, what happens? Well, the buyer then would have to get a lawyer. What we usually recommend is if it's under a dollar amount, go to small claims court, file, show you're out clean, da, da, da. Or you may have to get a lawyer, or if you're on our side and we're representing the buyer, we'd help you and tell you should probably put a letter together advocating this and why you're out and back. In the event it doesn't, this is what changed years ago. In 2003, can't believe it's been that long ago. So it will eventually go to the state.
My parents.
So they can't come to an agreement. In the absence of a pending civil action or written release, and upon passage of 60 days from the date of dispute, a broker may disperse escrow monies or valuables to either party of the transaction based upon a good faith decision by the broker. Do you think I would ever make that decision? Now I got the liability. That's why we don't have an escrow account. We stopped carrying an escrow account the minute they changed the transaction to a buyer could terminate immediately. Earnest money return. No more earnest money being held here. There's no benefit to us holding earnest money because buyers wanted that money turned around quick and back in their hands. Well, it didn't even clear. Second thing is it takes on the liability in these events of how to get rid of it. So it sits in the title company's hands usually, and then they can make a decision. But what do most title companies say? We need Are they going to make a good faith decision? Typically not. They don't want the liability. So then it will go to the state. That makes sense. And they will have to battle it out and figure it out from there. And the state loves holding anybody's money. So most title companies aren't going to get involved. Now legally, let's go back prior. Let's go way back when I had an escrow account. Contract. I see very clearly the buyer's loan was rejected. Is that a clearly defined reason for that earnest money to go back? Yes. I could have made a decision and said, hey, it's very clear, loan was denied, proof was provided, we're releasing the earnest money to the buyer. That could have been done. It still could be done. But usually there's no benefit to doing that. So that's what I'm saying. Most of your title companies, that's why you gotta check with who you're closing with. I would probably imagine there's nobody that will make a decision on a release. There's no benefit to it to take on the liability. But your title company may be different. They could send out written notice to all parties, like it says, and say, hey, to try to get them to see the light. Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, we've been holding this earnest money. It's very clear that there is a loan denial and that the contract states that the money is to go back to them. That's the decision we're going to be making unless we hear something different. We'd love to hear from your legal counsel prior to this release if you dispute that fact. And usually then the seller just like whatever goes away and fine. I was just holding it anyway just to be an asset. So earnest money. Why should you know that? Well, hopefully you never have to really get into it too in depth. Whenever you have a mutual release, your buyer or seller is going to probably say, hey, what does this form mean? And then you should probably go to the next level if it's been a contested sale or problem, explaining to them this could be the case. All right. We're gonna close on an interesting one.
So can you explain if the earnest money is in dispute? If the seller is able to go ahead and sell the house to another party? Put it back on the market?
That is a weighted question.
Sorry.
No, it's a good question. Comes up quite a bit. You have to. One, ideally, we want the mutual release. It's kind of like a risk management decision. If all the facts are clear, let's just say in that situation, I have a clearly defined loan rejection and it's an out, then yeah, I would say go back on the market. But if I would tell the seller, if you're disputing that loan rejection, so that's where it's unique. Realistically, we should go back on the market without, I can go back on the market without a mutual release. But if you're saying I'm disputing and not tying up their earnest money, but what you're saying is you're disputing the fact that they really had a loan rejection. So then no, that's the seller. So what do you want? Do you want $2,000 to sit off the market? Or do you want, so each situation is gonna be different. That makes sense. If people are threatening litigation, or the timeframes haven't expired. Let's just say they said, "Nah, I don't want the property anymore, but the closing date's still coming up. Until you can show a breach, because what could happen is, see this happen. Don't let them out. Go back on the market. And get under contract. Well, you weren't letting me out, you were disputing it, guess what? I got wind and I'm smart, you're under contract. We did set a mutual release. Closing date hasn't came and what? Guess who's showing up? I'm closing. So now we get back into the
It's
situation.
only twice.
It's kind of under contract twice, so that's why we want the mutual release, and you gotta explain that. Or I'll have a buyer call me or a seller call me to explain that it isn't as obvious as it seems. Do you want a buyer coming out of the woodwork? That's performing or wanting to perform, because now they know they can say, you know what?
Who changed their mind?
Well, also on the mutual release, we rescind any type of releases out there. We're gonna close, or we want our money back, and I want $10,000 from you. Just different odd things that happen. So does that make sense? Alright, so the last one we'll get into. It's kind of a fixture thing. Under Missouri law, are swing sets classified as fixtures?
Maybe I'm correct.
It's kind of just common sense. It really comes back to that as, there's an agent that has always used the term, and I agree with it. The fixtures is a good, not 100% accurate. But if you took the whole parcel, the property, everything, and you turn it upside down. What? It's gonna stay. So compared to this, a mailbox. The mailbox a fixture?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Swing set. Think about the same scenario. You ever had a swing set where someone cemented it in the ground?
Yeah.
You had one? Yeah. Because when you swung on it, you didn't want it going up and down.
Rocking.
You have a swing set growing up? You ever had that problem? Oh,
I mean, we have one now, but we just had it staked.
because the ground was on level and one was.
No, I don't even know, like, it was one of those rainbow ones.
Oh, you had the big one.
Yeah, like, hey, it was during COVID, it was the best money I've ever spent.
Oh, for the kid, I
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Not
Yeah.
me,
Yeah.
no.
I mean,
I swing on it.
I had the tetanus
It
special.
old me, we're good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We had rust, we had everything on our,
Oh, yeah, I had one.
yeah, sandbox that cats lived in.
Yeah.
What about, like the trampoline? Because those ones that are, I mean, I don't have one, but the ones that are like in the ground.
They're usually not attached
can-
though, they're just sunk in.
I have one right now, it's recessed.
Yeah,
But
recessed,
you
that's
can
the-
still pick it up.
Okay.
Okay, so that's the thing that be aware of on all these different things is how it actually lays upon the property. The biggest thing that we probably deal with more so than swing sets is sheds. How do you determine that? Well, when in doubt, write it out. Is it a fixed? Or is it just laid on a pad? Even then, people are very confused, so always write it out, whether it's the swing set, whether it's the, well, that's the other thing, because a lot of these. What we used to call like a storage shed or whatever are becoming like pretty glamorous.
She should.
She
Yeah,
sheds,
she
man caves,
Yeah.
bars.
Right.
I mean, the level has really been raised, so. Is it really a fixed? And even if it is a fixed, I would leave it. Where nobody is to guess it, I'll put it in the
Cause
contract,
they can't be moved.
so,
Have somebody show up and take a shed before closing.
yeah.
Oh, yeah, they can be moved.
So if you're writing as the buyer and you're expecting it, whether it's a swing set, a shed, Maybe it's a fountain, maybe it's a sculpture, maybe whatever it is. Write it in. Let's just say out front, there's that sculpturous fountain. It's not attached to anything. Does it look like it is? Kind of. It's just set on a concrete pad. If this was a residential property and this property is being sold, I would counter and say that's not a good. Or if I was like, look, I'm leaving, I don't want it. So I would include it so that they're aware they're getting it. Because maybe they don't want it and they think it's personal property. So they write the offer and then they do their walkthrough and like, hey Todd, you getting that concrete thing out of here? Like, no, it stays. Like, no, it's personal property. You can have it because I don't want it. So be very clear on that. Fixtures, swing sets, sheds,
Shelving.
shelving. Well, shelving, yes, but shelving attached. There's floating shelves, there's different things. Which can kind of become a little
City
bit of an
park.
issue. But that's like in your contract, they say bathroom mirrors. Because they're kind of affixed. It's almost like a picture, most mirrors, or now they have the decorative ones. They put bathroom mirrors. If you're expecting it or don't expect it, when in doubt, write it out.
I would tell my sellers, is there anything you don't wanna take with you or that you wanna keep? And I even go over shelves and stuff like in the basement, outside, you know, that way an agent remarks, you just list it out.
Or just remove it.
Remove
Or
it
go
or
with
the-
Or, yes, I always say, remove it now.
So that's more the common sense approach, but these matters that are crazy that come up and you guys deal with all the time. Look at the legal mumbo jumbo that goes on. You know, with precedents, explain further in Leewood National Bank versus City National Bank and Trust. Like all this case law, and this is why. So, let's say you get in one of these situations and you close and it's not there. What do you want it? Buyer gets an attorney. How many buyers, real estate attorneys, or attorneys are super versed? They get an attorney that isn't necessarily real estate. So what are you paying them? Why do you think it costs $10,000 retainer? It's billable hours. First thing an attorney's going to do is verify. So guess what? They start reading all that, the statutes and why, and something first verse and case law and all those good things where it comes to be. We're trying to avoid that. The easiest way is when in doubt, write it up. So any other MREC. So those are the biggest things that people are filing complaints on. And or asking questions on. Due to an agent, this all starts from an agent's inability to counsel. Not practice law, not advise them legally, but these are the scenarios. So anything else out there you guys want to discuss? This is just we did the first time, this is the second third, and then there's another third. So for some, it might be just a refresher. For others, it may be, okay, yeah, I knew all this, but man, I better start. Maybe I could advise on a mutual lease a little bit different, or the potential of a mutual lease, or rescission, or of anything. So any questions anyone has? Anybody? Any problems you have going on you want to contractually talk about?
You threw that one in for me, didn't
Yes.
you?
Are you seeing problems with
No.
other agents like contractually? I know your problems already.
You know, I found something interesting the other day. I have a listing that's coming up that has been vacant for a year and the seller doesn't live here. And so I got to be the lucky one to go and clean this house out and put it ready. And so I went and got all the mail out of the mailbox. This much mail, a year's worth of mail. And it's interesting because this house has started going to foreclosure. About half the letters in there are from other realtors. So it's interesting to see the things that people are offering people and how many of those letters I could have set aside and probably turned them in for ethical violations.
Good.
You know, straight up just offering
Yeah.
things that are absolutely not appropriate. And it was just interesting. I kept the whole stack of them. It was
The MRE
to be able to see that.
The MREC has been overwhelmed, I think, based on response times on complaints. Some are going a year in without resolution. So that's something to, discuss with the buyer and seller, the true timeframes, because everybody throws out, I have that right now, an agent that is throwing out, well, I'm gonna file with SLR, I'm gonna file with MREC. It's so baseless and there's no grounds, and it's like, fine, I would hope you would not, because you're wasting your time, that's wrong, and here's why, but if you feel that's the best avenue and you wanna take the time, then do it. I mean, I try to avoid it at all costs, but then also I know when you're right, it's like.
It doesn't go anywhere.
Yeah.
I had an agent years ago when we lived in Ferguson. My own personal home was for sale. And this was right when everything was going on first. And I had an agent who brought some buyers in, and I went and turned all the lights in. I'm all excited, and they were there almost 2 hours. And I thought, oh, this is great. They must be really interested. So I called him and asked for feedback, and he said, oh, that wasn't, those weren't buyers. That was a CNN news crew. And they filmed a whole segment at my dining room table without my knowledge or permission. And
Lemon.
my broker threatened to sue, so
Yeah.
it never did air. But to me, that was a really huge violation. And the broker did report it, and it went absolutely.
So here's a segue I'll give you. One is. Florissant, Old Town does a lot. She gives them historic property, so if you guys have it, not just, I mean, what's the farthest one you went to for a historic property?
Mexico, Missouri.
She's all over the state with some unique historic properties, that's her niche, so if you have something that, like, oof, this is out of my league, or I
I
don't
do
handle.
a historic, I'm also a North County expert, so if you have anything in North County. let me know.
So, but yeah, so just a good resource for y'all too.
Yeah, if you're selling a house in Old Jamestown and you don't know anything about it, please call me. Cause
You're gonna need help.
there's some things you might wanna know. Like the agent who called me and said, the tree in my client's front yard just sunk 3 feet. Do you have any idea what that might be? Yes, the whole area is filled with sinkholes. And it is also protected per St. Louis County as a conservation district. So there are extra laws on top of it that relate to real estate that most people have absolutely no idea about.
Yeah.
So I'm always happy to be a resource on.
Perfect. So on that note, is anybody still on there? Anybody have any chat questions?
None right now. We got Ed and the McDermotts still in. Troop until the end.
There you go. All right, you now know what a swing set is, Ed and McDermott's, and the difference on fixtures, so. If you guys need anything at home, call, let us know. You all here, need anything, let us know. We value, appreciate you. Appreciate the fact that you guys stand out. You're different than other agents. This is why, because you take your job serious and you do things right, and it makes us all have an easier evening on the calls tonight. Most of the time. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Feel like things are